From the CISO series, it's Cybersecurity Headlines.
These are the cybersecurity headlines for Friday, May 22nd, 2026. I'm Steve Prentice. Cisco issues 10.0 rated Secure Workload admin flaw warning. Cisco has announced the existence of a vulnerability with a CVSS score of 10.0, which can enable unauthenticated attackers to gain site admin privileges in its Cisco Secure Workload cluster software in both SaaS and on-prem environments. This by sending crafted API requests to vulnerable systems. The CVE-numbered vulnerability comes down to, quote, weak validation and authentication checks in internal REST API endpoints, end quote. This means attackers don't require credentials, user interaction, or any significant effort to exploit the bug. Cisco released patches for this critical vulnerability yesterday, Thursday. Spammers abuse internal Microsoftonline account. A loophole in an internal Microsoft system has been allowing the distribution of spam emails from an email address typically used for sending legitimate account alerts. Scammers have been able to set up new Microsoft accounts as if they were new customers and use that access to send out emails purportedly from the tech giant itself. The emails are sent from MS Online Services Team at Microsoftonline.com. which is an email account that Microsoft uses to send important notifications to users, such as two-factor authentication codes and other critical alerts about their online account. When contacted by TechCrunch earlier this week, a Microsoft spokesperson acknowledged the inquiry, but did not comment or say if the company had stopped the abuse of this notification email. Google sees surge in Chrome vulnerability announcements. A comparison of Chrome security advisories published by Google shows quite an increase, from 16 for the Chrome update released on April 15th to 21 for the update issued on April 28th, and then 100 in the advisory published on May 5th. More than 70 of these vulnerabilities patched were found internally by the tech company. Google has not clarified if the surge correlates to any use of AI, but they would be joining many other organizations, such as Mozilla, that have also reported surges in vulnerability discovery thanks to the use of internal or third-party tools, including Claude's Mythos. Police seize first VPN service used in cyber attacks. The takedown was the result of a joint international law enforcement operation led by French and Dutch authorities, and which was the result of an investigation that started in 2021. The forces seized dozens of first VPN servers located in 27 countries, arrested the administrator, and conducted a house search in Ukraine. The VPN service had been, quote, advertised on various cybercrime forums as a privacy-focused VPN that does not log user data and ignores law enforcement requests for user information, end quote. Huge thanks to our sponsor, ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker is extending zero trust beyond endpoint control. With their recent release of Zero Trust Network Access and Zero Trust Cloud Access, access isn't based on credentials alone. It requires the right user, the right device, and the right conditions. Because as we have seen in recent large-scale CRM breaches, stolen credentials and misconfigurations can expose massive amounts of data. With ThreatLocker, nothing is exposed and access is limited to exactly what is needed. Learn more and start your free trial today at threatlocker.com/CISO. Chinese hackers target telcos with new Linux and Windows malware. Two newly discovered applications, a Linux malware called Showboat and a Windows malware called JFM Backdoor, have been active since at least mid-2022 and are targeting organizations across the Asia-Pacific and parts of the Middle East. It has been attributed to the Calypso threat group, also tracked as Red Lamasu. The malware can upload or download files, hide its own process, and establish persistence via a new service. Researchers at Lumen's Black Lotus Labs conclude that the tooling is, quote, likely shared across multiple China-aligned threat groups, each targeting different regions and using the same malware ecosystem, end quote. Discord adds end-to-end encryption to voice and video calls by default. Without any major announcement, Discord started using its Dave encryption protocol, that is DAVE, designed to support voice and video calls on PCs, phones, consoles, and browsers with minimal latency. This goes in stark contrast to Meta, which removed its end-to-end encryption from Instagram's direct messaging feature, as well as TikTok that confirmed, quote, it would not be adding end-to-end encryption to direct messages, end quote. Monday's change simply makes encryption the default for everyone, with the exception of its stage channels, which are designed for broadcast-style communication. UK cybercrime law reform would protect almost no one, says experts. According to Recorded Future News, quote, the British government's plans to overhaul the country's main cybercrime law would offer such narrow legal protections that most security researchers would be left in the same position as today, end quote. As we reported last week, plans to amend the Computer Misuse Act of 1990 were announced in the King's Speech, with the goal of modernizing cybersecurity law. The updated law was intended to, quote, protect researchers from conviction in court as long as they meet certain safeguards, end quote, but sources say those safeguards are extremely limited to cases where researchers are, quote, being prosecuted for scanning internet-facing systems, end quote. A link to the full breakdown of the proposed law is available in the show notes to this episode. Move over Flipper 0. Flipper 1 is in town. The Flipper 1 is an open Linux pocket computer from Flipper Devices, the makers of the infamous Flipper 0 multi-tool device. It is essentially a tiny Linux computer designed for cybersecurity research, electronics experimentation, networking, and hardware tinkering. Whereas the Flipper 0 was built around a microcontroller, the Flipper 1 reportedly uses a much stronger Rock-chip processor plus a secondary Raspberry Pi-style RP2040 chip for lower-level hardware handling, and will likely be of greatest interest to cybersecurity professionals who want a portable toolkit, as well as electronics hobbyists and Linux enthusiasts. Remember to join us later today at 4 p.m. for our Department of No live stream. This week we're joined by Mike Lockhart, CISO at Eagleview, and Kathleen Mullen, the former CISO at MyCaregorithm, and we'll be digging into how the news of the week applies to your security teams. What stories are more noise than signal, and having some fun with our live chat. Be sure you're subscribed to the CISO series on YouTube to catch the stream at 4 p.m. Eastern later today. And if you have some thoughts on the news from today or about this show in general, please be sure to reach out to us at feedback@cisoseries.com. We would love to hear from you. I'm Steve Prentice, reporting for the CISO Series.
Cybersecurity headlines are available every weekday. Head to CISOseries.com for the full stories behind the headlines.